Good morning. Just 1 minute, Vicent is about to arrive, and we start.
Hola, buenos días, bienvenidas, bienvenidos a esta nueva edición de las jornadas de nuestra unidad mixta de investigación. En esta ocasión, pues, coincide también, ¿no?, con nuestro foro del Consejo Científico de ValgrAI, and we have the opportunity that share this meeting with 4 of our scientific council members. No? We have the opportunity to share with Ramón López de Mantaras, that is our president, with Carme Torres, with Marco Dorigo, and with George Golf, no? This opportunity, and share your results with this member of our council. Then we can start, no, the meeting.
Yes, well, good morning. Here you are the agenda, the schedule of today. We are going to have like 6 talks. From the first one from Juan Antonio Pérez from the Universitat de Alacant, then Rafael Berlanga from the Universitat Jaume I de Castellón, then Joaquín Torres from the Universitat de València, Jordi Linares from the Universitat Politècnica de València, and finally Hugo Albert Bonet and José Daniel Galván from the UPV. So we can start, I think, with the first one, Juan Antonio Pérez from the Universitat de Alacant. Thank you, Juan. Sí.
Sí.
Okay. So can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So thank you, everyone. So I will start fast because I have a lot of things to say. So my presentation will be mostly about machine translation, you know, finding an equivalent for a sentence or a text in one language, finding an equivalent into another language, right? And I will present how recent advancements in LLMs, large language models, and so on, could allow a number of languages that for now do not have access to this kind of technologies to have machine translation models and things like that. So machine translation is a very old technology. Actually, it's more or less linked to the first developments in artificial intelligence. The first machine translation system translating from Russian into English was released almost 75 years ago, right? So this is the newspaper. And the first paper that applied the encoder-decoder architecture that now is used in basically every AI model, neural network model, or most of them, the encoder-decoder architecture was introduced in this paper, and actually the experiments were dealing with machine translation. A couple of years later, the first paper introducing the idea of attention in natural language processing, guess what? The experiments were about machine translation. And finally, the architecture that 99% of the models is using, the transformer, was published a few years ago, and it contained experiments only for machine translation. So machine translation is behind most of the advancements in natural language processing, especially because it implies two things that are very relevant for any other task, which is you need to understand natural language understanding the input text, and then you need to be able to to generate the text in the target language. So a few months after the publication of the release of the transformer, there was some papers, for example, this one by Microsoft, stating that they had achieved human parity in their machine translation models, meaning that the performance of the machine translation was equivalent to that of a human. There were a lot of criticisms to this paper, and actually probably it wasn't completely like that. But a few years later, this is the WMT, which is the most important conference in machine translation, the workshop in machine translation. It has a number of competitions where different teams send their machine translation models, and for the first time, and this is an independent evaluation, for the first time, they found that in the case, at least, of English into Spanish, the system made virtually no mistake in thousands of languages when translating. So it could seem that machine translation is a problem solved. So I finished my talk because there is nothing to do. Thank you. Okay, no. So what is happening here is that there are thousands of languages in the world. Machine translation is not a problem solved because you have literary translation and some other stuff and cultural stuff and things that are not fully attained by the systems. But machine translation works very well for a few selected languages, dozens or a few hundreds of languages, let's say, but there are around 7,000 languages in the world, right? And so here you have some of these privileged languages in the sense that they have enough resources or somehow some resources that allow them to be used in AI models. So this is the list of languages in Flores 200, which is a data set used for machine translation evaluation. And these are the languages included in the Small and Gatitos data set by Google, which is also something similar. So these languages are privileged, not obviously in different levels, because you may find some resources for them. But remember that there are thousands of languages which are not so privileged. And the idea is that we call them low resource or even extremely low resource languages, and they represent more than 95% of the languages of the world. And the truth is that current machine translation models perform very bad with all these languages. So how difficult is for example, an LLM, a large language model, to deal with these languages which the model has never seen before? So in order to give you some idea about that, I will compare the processing of these languages with some other problems. For example, this is the ARC dataset, which contains a number of problems that are supposed to be really difficult for current models. And the idea is that you have some input and some output. You have a few examples too in this case, and then you provide the model with a new input, and the model has to determine which is the output. This implies usually some reasoning, some logic deduction, and things like that. And the current models perform around 10 or 20%, right? So the performance is really poor until now. And this is a data set which is called Linguini that contains problems dealing with linguistics. So they come from the International Linguistic Olympiads, right? So the idea is that humans get these problems in which they are posed with questions related to languages they have never seen. But, humans with some background in linguistics, the idea is that the general knowledge about linguistics that they have allow them to answer many questions and to translate, for example, into these languages which are unknown for them, or find equivalents or generate text in those languages. So Linguini is a data set that is included in the Big Bench Extra Hard, which is a data set of problems that turn out to be really, really hard for machines, at least as of today. And Linguini actually is one of the data sets included in this data set that is harder for computers or for AI models. Actually, the performance is around, more or less similar to ARC, to the other data set, is around 10 to 20%. So that means that there is a lot of things to do in order to make these large language models be able to deal with thousands of languages in the world, right? And this is a relevant paper published like 1 year ago or less. They showed that, okay, what if we give a grammar book about a language that the LLM, the large language model, has never seen? So these models that are supposed to get so good results in maths and physics, they say that an LLM will get the Nobel Prize for chemistry or physics in the coming years. So couldn't they read a grammar book and then get the understanding of how that language works and use that in order, for example, to translate or to generate text into those languages? So this paper worked with Kalaman, which is a language spoken in Papua New Guinea, in Indonesia, and they proved that the grammar was useful and that by adding that to the prompt of the model, the quality, the performance of the model in machine translation improved a lot. So here you have like an example of the grammar. Usually the grammar is written in a dominant language, for example, English, Spanish, or something like that, and describes, the grammar book describes the language itself. So from that moment, a number of papers appeared that try to do the same with more languages, right? And I want to show you this graph here. It shows that among all the languages in the world, around 60%, this is quite optimistic probably, but let's say that between 2,000 and 3,000 of languages in the world have something like a grammar book. And actually more of them have some kind of dictionary. So the idea is, could we use these resources in order to teach all these low resource languages to LLMs, for example? Which resources? Okay, again, grammars, for example. These are of a project we are currently working. So this is an example of a grammar in Canjobal and Cachiquel. They are Mayan languages spoken in Guatemala. We also have some resources that are very valuable. For example, the Little Prince book is the non-religious text which is in more languages in the world. So there are more than 600 languages that have the Little Prince, right? And we are also working in using this small text, which is multilingual, in order to get knowledge about some languages. We also have glosses, which is you have a sentence in the language, and then you have some annotations of the equivalent words or morphemes in English, and some morphological description of each of them. And some data sets like this, they contain glosses for nearly 2,000 languages of the world. So this is a really, really interesting resource. We have dictionaries. This is a dictionary for Canjobal, the Mayan language I told you before. And we have things like GramBank, which is really interesting. GramBank is a collection of hundreds of different features that languages may have or may not, or may have in different levels. For example, do they have definite articles? So you have a description of the feature, and then you have a very long table with thousands or hundreds or thousands of languages describing whether they have this feature or not. Right? So all this information could prove very useful, and the idea is, you know now what we can do. We prompt the model, and we give all the information about the language in order to translate. So we start by saying, you are a translator, you are very good, blah, 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 blah. This is an example for one of the languages we are working, which is Bribri, spoken in Costa Rica. And so we ask the model to translate this sentence. And the idea is that we then provide a lot of information, morphological information, if we have it, about the sentence, similar or exact or the same words if we find them in the dictionary, the definitions or the equivalent in the other language, some relevant translations of similar sentences, and some paragraphs coming from grammar books. And then we ask the model, now proceed with the translation. So one of the projects that we are working related to this idea was awarded with a Google Award a few months ago, and we are digitalizing a number of resources in different Mayan languages, spoken mainly in Guatemala and Mexico, and we are developing also data sets and machine translation technologies for these languages. So this seems, again, very promising. So, okay, we give all the information that we may find about that language, and the LLM will do the rest. Okay. Some paper published like a few months ago, this is version 2, but it's 3 or 4 months old, showed that everything is not so shiny, right? They analyzed those papers using the grammar books in order to teach the LLM a new language, and they showed that basically the LLM was ignoring all the grammar, or the grammatical information here. The LLM was focusing on the examples in the source and target language here, and actually if you remove all the grammatical blah 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 stuff here, the model performs better. So that means, again, that we have still a lot of things to do, because we may consider that these LLMs that are so brilliant in maths and physics and so on should be able to understand what is being said here and apply it consequently. So there are a number of different things that LLMs are including these days and that could prove really, really useful here. One of the things is reasoning models. Everyone is using reasoning models. There are different ways in which you can teach a model to reason. I will mainly focus on the fourth one, which is reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards. This was one of the first papers, was the DeepSeek paper last January or so. So the idea is that you ask the LLM to solve a problem, but you ask it to think before giving the answer. So the idea is you please think a lot about that and then provide an answer. But you do not compare the reasoning with any ground truth. You just verify whether the answer is correct or not, or the degree in which it is correct. So the idea is that just by doing that, it can be shown that when training proceeds, the model, the length of the reasoning becomes longer and longer. And at the same time, the performance on some math and coding problems improves at the same time. So the idea is that the model is learning to reason by itself by using reinforcement learning. So how can we translate or move these ideas to the idea of machine translation? Well, we may train an LLM to think before providing the translation, and to think by using reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards. And then we check the answer, and we compare the answer with a correct translation, and we use that as the reward in order to make the model to think better about how to translate that. So the idea is that we still provide all the information, morphology, grammar books, and so on, but we let the model to think before translating. So I will skip this. And another topic is translation agents, which is the idea of having different LLMs with different specializations. For example, this is the virtual lab in which they perform some developments related to biomedicine. And the idea is that you have some LLM, which is the principal investigator of the team. You have a critic, you have an expert in machine learning, an immunologist, and so on. And they, by using natural language, they reason about the problem, they try to solve it, everyone according to their experience, to their backgrounds, and they have these team meetings in which they use natural language in order to have a conversation, in order to find to the correct answer at the end. So we can, we can transpose all these ideas again to the field of machine translation by having different roles, for example, a senior editor, a junior editor, a translation, a localization expert, a proofreader, and they cooperate by using natural language in order to perform the translation. And finally, agentic RAG. This means that until now, when you have the grammar book, this is usually very large, so the idea is to select the paragraphs which are better in order to perform a particular translation. In order to do that, there is this technique that probably most of you know, which is retrieval augmented generation. You perform some query, and then you compute the embeddings, and you do some similarity in order to find the relevant passages in the book. but we can use reasoning and agents in order to do this. This is called agentic retrieval augmented generation. That means that you have the model. Well, okay, I have to translate this sentence. I have all this information. I read the grammar book, and then I decide for every paragraph there whether it is relevant or not in order to perform the translation. And once the model has reasoned about the best paragraphs to perform the translation, it copies those paragraphs into the prompt in order to perform the translation. So I have shown that new techniques for machine translation could be very useful in order to to understand and translate all these low resource and extremely low resource languages. I have described some of them here. And just to finish, what I have shown you here is just a midterm project. Our idea in the long term is to go beyond this and to have models or devices that learn new languages by interaction with their speakers. So the idea is that ChatGPT created this, the device is so beautiful, it looks like it has eyes. So we have a device and we give it to the people in speaking a particular language in the middle of the Amazon, for example, and then the model, by using things as curiosity-driven learning and things like that, it interacts with the speakers. Okay, why did you say that? Why when you are happy you say that, but when you are sad you do the opposite? Can you tell me, can you explain me what this word means and so on? So the model is able to interact with the speakers to get knowledge and to improve by immersion the knowledge of the language. And then once the model has some skills in that language, it can act as a mediator, being a companion, going with the person to the city, to the metropolis, and helping them to have conversations with, in the bank, with the doctor, with the lawyer, and things like that, right? So the idea is learning by interacting with the speakers, and finally becoming a mediator, helping those speakers to communicate and to develop in the city where there is probably some predominant languages, some predominant or dominant language which is not the language they speak. And that's it. Thank you.
Any question for?
Okay. Thank you for a very beautiful talk. I want to know, has that following problem that is closely related to what you said in the last slides, yeah, has that been studied? A minimum number of questions from which you can learn an entire language. If you ask these questions, get the result back, you can ask other questions and others, but you need a minimum number of starting questions.
Yeah.
You see? A minimum set of questions for any language, without even languages with no writing, then you do the transliteration or you write it in some phonetic language, okay, and you do this with hundreds of people, of course, yeah, so that, and then has that been studied? Is there a catalog of a minimum number of questions such that from those questions you can learn the answers? The answer allows you to put another question, etc. You build a tree of questions basically from which you learn the entire language.
Yeah, I understand what you are saying. Actually, this is more or less related to active learning, which is how to make the questions about the minimum number of sentences that allow you to learn.
It's a little bit, linguistically, it's also semantic because you need to get into all domains from this and to explore everything.
I'm not aware of papers, I guess, because everything that, if I say, that's a good idea, let's try to do that, probably we will search, and there are like 10 papers last month published about that. I'm not aware of them, but that's a very interesting idea.
That could be the seed of such a system that you don't even need assistance because you just need these few questions, the first few answers, first questions.
But at the same time, for example, the device, it's better that people do not have to change their everyday lives. So I'm not completely sure whether.
No, that's clear. Yeah, but
Thank you, Juan Antonio. I read something about that, but I don't know how the things are now. So I am asking if you know it. What is the situation about languages that are only orally transmitted, where there's no written at all?
Yeah, there are many languages with an oral tradition and have no written form, right? And that's so interesting because there was an UNESCO conference about multilingualism a few months ago, and there was this indigenous woman from Canada, and she was saying that our language is oral, and we do not want it to be encoded in written form, but linguists came from the outside world, and they decided to have like a system for that. So there are many cultural and ethical things to be taken into account here. But the idea is that there are also advancements in doing unsupervised learning. So you are able to transcribe you have some audio, and you somehow determine the phonemes or phones or something like that. And then you have a small text, not necessarily correlated with the audio, and then you are, by using the frequency of different patterns, you are able somehow to transform that. So there are a lot of, let's say, improvements, because advancement seems to be a word I know. There are a lot of improvements in unsupervised transcription of languages, which is also something really interesting.
So when you look at these, let's say, unusual languages, or those that we don't know about, doesn't it ever happen that they have concepts, words for concepts that do not belong to other languages? So how do you do for translation?
Yeah. That's an issue with translation, and it's been studied by translators for years and years. And so that's the idea of also that translating is not only the words, it also has some cultural issues and things that have to be taken into account. But I guess that the models could somehow, the same as humans, end up finding some equivalent, right? So there is, for example, you know Tokipona. Tokipona is a language with only 100 words. It's very nice if you want to learn it. So instead of crying, you say I have water in my eyes and things like that. And Tokipona manages to represent a lot of things with only 100 words. So this is the opposite, but somehow I guess that the models should be able to deal with that. Yeah.
The last question.
I think there are two candidates, but you may ask me later if you want.
Thank you very much. My question is going to be not the minority languages, but the variations, for example, of a common language, for instance, English. And I mean phonetic variations and also lexical variations in terms of grammar. So can the model be adapted to this from the input, I mean?
Okay, so the answer is people are trying to do that, but I guess that, again, at the end of the day, we will find that models are able to automatically detect. So for example, you give the text in all the different variants, and then you say, I want you to generate a text following, and instead of giving names or labels to the variants, you just give an example of a few sentences. So the model is able to adapt. Actually, it's more or less what is happening right now with LLMs, because if you ask it in Valencian, they usually use Valencian forms for words instead of Catalan. So I guess that the idea of doing this again in an unsupervised way, without saying, I have 5 variants, so the model wouldn't mind whether they are 5 or 10, it will somehow manage to detect that there are some different patterns in different texts. And then if you give just one example, I want you to follow this particular variant, so the model will be able to adapt to it. Yeah, there are a lot of things that are being done about that.
Another question which is not directly related, but is it possible to learn a language by machine learning, basically neural network or whatever, such that you just listen at a conversation in this language, you don't interact, but from the conversation and statistics, you know, for instance, phone calls, you know a phone call will hello and the other one will say yes, and this guy is speaking, and then you know how often people usually say yes or no, then you learn what yes or no is, and etc. Are there such models that you just listen?
Yeah, but I guess that using
don't work.
Only monolingual data, I guess it would be, but we cannot say that something is impossible, because as we have seen for the last 5 years, everything that seemed to be impossible, but for a human also will be okay. It could be, but probably then you need multimodal models. So you
And
need vision, for example.
Yeah.
And so
Okay,
on-device.
multimodal.
Yeah.
But the tone is also there, you know, the tone is also a modality, no?
Yeah. There are many things about that. Yeah.
But it's not yet, it's not possible in this moment probably, no? But that would be very interesting too.
I don't know, probably there were a couple of papers published yesterday about it. But yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Okay,
thank you
thank
for all
you.
the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Juan Antonio. And the next talk will be given by Rafael Berlanga. Rafael is here, although he's injured. So thank you very much. He comes from Universitat Jaume I. And his talk is titled is Developing AI-Empowered CyberSOCs to Real Cases. Thank you very much. Aquí lo puedes hacer aquí, similar.
Ya está presentado,
No,
¿no?
sí.
¿Aquí arriba?
Ahí, dale. Lectura, pantalla completa.
Vale.
Es que no se acaba de hablar. Es que no se acaba de hablar.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, good. Good morning, bon dia a tots. I am going to present a work that we are been carrying out the last 9 months. Is indeed. Yeah. I prefer the microphone. The problem is I have an ankle lesion, so it's difficult for me to be there. Yeah. Now better? There's no battery.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah? Now? The battery is run out. I think. The battery is run out. Yeah? Now? Okay. Sorry for the delay. Okay. Now, I will start again. Okay, I am going to present an experience of about 9 months. We are working on 2 real scenarios about cybersecurity. I cannot give details about the companies that are behind these projects and some results because everything is subject to privacy issues and so on. When you are working in cybersecurity, you cannot reveal many things. So I will try to explain the techniques that we are using and also the first results. Okay, they are not spectacular, but I think we are in the right path. Okay, first of all, I will present the context. This is the team of the Universitat Jaume I that is working on these 2 projects. I am here. Okay, there are senior researchers and also contacted people that are working on the project. First of all, I want to explain what a SOC is. Okay, SOC is a center where everything that is happening in our assets is being monitored. There are a lot of experts and people that is analyzing everything that is happening in our assets and trying to detect intrusions, malware detection, and so on. So the main aim of a SOC is to protect our assets. That can be software, can be people, can be anything that is subject to attacks in our company or organization. The main concept is that in the SOC you have a series of components. The first one is that is able to monitor every asset in our company. That is called the CM, where everything that is happening is monitored. These are called events. From these events, a series of events that can be considered suspicious are marked. Then there is another component where these suspicious activities are enriched with semantic information like MITRE techniques and all kind of knowledge that we can have about these kind of behaviors or of indicators of compromise. We call this part alarms, okay? Monitoring generate events, and these events can be compared to alarms, okay? In this process, there are also a fusion process where many events can be aggregated and fusion in order to generate an alarm. Then alarms, and here is the hardest step, must be analyzed by humans. And here you have a lot of alarms that need to be analyzed. First to be inspected, then to be analyzed, then to be documented, and so on. These are called incidents. The problem is that from the events, you have a large amount of events. From these events, you have a large amount of alarms, but only a few percentage of these alarms are true incidents, okay? So this is the reason that I put there a funnel where you get a lot of information from the monitoring step, and then you only have a small portion of this information to be analyzed by human, okay? Finally, when you report an incident, that is a long process, you need to look for the mitigation techniques and then to solve the problem, okay? So we have a funnel where we have a lot of information at the beginning, and then it's filtering until you get something that is worth to analyze and to solve. Here we have a big problem. This is called the alert fatigue. It's a problem that all the analysts have in a SOC. Why? Because we have a bottleneck problem. We have a phase that is completely automated, that is the CM and the SOAR. Everything is governed by rules and techniques that are very fast. But at the end, the analyst must face a lot of false alarms, okay? And only a small portion of them will lead to a true incident and need response from the analyst. Okay, so what artificial intelligence can do for us in this scenario? First of all, obviously, machine learning and deep learning are very good techniques for the earlier stages when you need scalability. Okay, so if you need scalable techniques, you need to use machine learning and deep learning. More deep learning than machine learning, because here the information is very complex and cannot be represented with tabular forms, and you need something more than tables and training samples as usual. Okay. Another problem we have is that in real world conditions, and this is the main aim of this project, you have a lot of noise and concentrated issues. What this means? Noise means that from all these alarms you have a lot of false alarms, and all these things are noise. Many events that are produced are not relevant and not are inoffensive indeed. And the concentrated is a worse problem, because even the analysts change their decisions a long time and can change their priorities and the impact of the rules they are applying and everything. So something that is good in some time maybe is not good at another time. So everything is changing, and it's a very dynamic scenario. Then we have a problem that is similar to the fraud detection. That is only a small data set of labels, the set of label data is available, okay? So they are the true incidents. So we have a very imbalanced data sets with a lot of inoffensive alarms and only a small set of true incidents. Then we have, in another part of the workflow of the SOC, we have a problem of enriching the alarms with external knowledge. This external knowledge is provided by Center of Threat Intelligence, where they publish continuously security problems detected in other organizations. So they provide external knowledge like techniques, signatures, hashes, and so on. And you need to be aware of all this data when you are enriching the alerts with external knowledge, in order that the analysts have a big picture about what is happening behind these events they are analyzing. Okay? And these are more sophisticated techniques. There is a need to produce alerts that are really aimed at situational awareness. That means the alert must provide all the information needed for the analyst in order to give a big picture about what is happening in their organization. And then we have automatic generation of hypotheses. Here, LLMs and reasoning capabilities are being tested to produce these kind of agents that are able to generate hypotheses and try to guess the cause root of the alerts. Okay? And finally, this is the more difficult part, this is the acting part, where we are trying to find automatic processes in order to give quick responses to some attacks. Okay? So this is the big picture about what is being researched in the area from artificial intelligence applied to security, to cybersecurity. Okay? Now, here I have depicted the different phases where, starting from all the events that are produced in the CM, and these events processed and aggregated and enriched with all kind of information we have at hand. And then we have two difficult phases. Here are human guided phases. One is the triage, where you have to measure the impact, the urgency, the criticality, and the category of each alarm. Okay? And here is where you have to reduce the number of alarms to just a few ones that are true incidents. Okay? Then you have another phase that is dispatching, where you have to assign the alert to the corresponding expert that have the necessary skills to solve the incident. Okay? Here you have a series of tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Then all your experts are classified in these tiers, and each alarm must be dispatched to the expert that better manage the corresponding alarm. Okay, in this scenario, we have all these techniques from artificial intelligence, machine learning in these two phases, because we have to process many alerts at right time in order to reduce the number of alerts that are going to the triage. Then we have knowledge graphs about cybersecurity that are needed to align with all the information that is coming to the SOAR component. Knowledge graphs also are used in triage and dispatching, because expert needs to query constantly which kind of information and knowledge need to solve these two steps. Then we have large language models that are mainly used in the triage, and then AI agents that are mainly used in dispatching. Okay, and these associations that I put in this slide means that there are some research and academic research performing all these steps and trying to apply the different techniques to the different steps. Okay, but they are usually academic stuff that is evaluated over synthetic data or simulations. And when you try to apply all these techniques to the real world scenario, you find that you don't have enough accuracy and enough performance to be able to put in production all these techniques. And this is our main conclusion, unfortunately, that we are not ready to put in production all these tools that need to be improved a lot in order to get good results in this domain. Then we have two scenarios that indeed are two different projects. One project is with one company, a big company of software and cybersecurity, and the other project is with a small company of cybersecurity that is trying to give services to small, medium-scale companies. So, in the first scenario, we have these conditions. First of all, we are not aware of anything here, okay? We have no access to the CM, we have no access to the SOAR, we have no access to the decisions in the triage phase, we don't have access to the decisions in the dispatching phase. So, what can we do here? And these are the conditions that the company imposes, okay? The company don't want to give us any information about anything of this because of privacy or whatever. So, the only thing we can do is, okay, give me examples or samples of your alarms here with some label, maybe if it is an offensive or escalated, and that's all. So they give us the data, usually in JSON format with a very big complex structure where they put information about the client, they put information about the techniques that can be associated to the alarm, and whatever. And the only thing we can do is to store the information and do some historical database where put these samples, and then we have a machine learning, deep learning service where continuously is producing machine learning models or deep learning models, okay? And then the SOC uses these models in order to do inferences and reduce the number of alarms here and here, okay? So this machine learning, deep learning service need doping, okay? And the doping here is to put some language models and also knowledge graphs in order to understand the data that is coming in these JSON formats, okay? And to do something like auto-exploration data analysis with the statistical information, and also asking to the LLMs which kind of information is there stored. For example, the port 25, for what purpose is? Okay, the port 25 is for email. So all this data is enriched with the LLM, and we introduce more information here before doing the machine learning or the deep learning part. Okay, we also use AutoML to select the best models, and then we apply deep learning. So our current approach is to use a deep learning architecture based on transformers, where we build alert sequences. This is the alert we want to predict, and these are alerts that we have stored that is related with this alert. Maybe because it's affecting the same asset, or maybe they are in the same client, or maybe they are near to this alert, or whatever. We have different strategies to build this alert sequence, and we realize that some strategies work better than another, depends on the client. So, as we don't know the decisions that the client is doing for escalating an alarm, we have to guess it, and we rely on this architecture in order to find these patterns that each client is applying in the SOC. Okay, 5 minutes? Okay. Now, this is what embeddings are able to do. This is the clustering of all the embeddings of all the alarms we have stored in the historical database. You can see in a two-dimensional projection that effectively alarms with the same nature are grouped, and it's very efficient to detect the different patterns that are in the data. Here you have the density of escalated alerts. You can see that many clusters only include escalated alerts. Okay, these are the dangerous ones. These are the alerts that will lead to incidents. Okay, and you can see that some of these clusters are pure escalated alerts, but there are other clusters that only a small portion is escalated, and the rest of alerts are not escalated. And this is a problem because that means that there is not a pattern for this kind of alerts, and maybe this is some kind of rule that is applied during some time and then is deactivated and then activated again and so on. So there are patterns that we cannot extract from the nature of the alert because it depends on the decisions in the SOC about to escalating or not escalating an alert. So the second scenario is about having complete access to the SOC. So we have now access to this part, and we know all about the incidents. We don't know anything about how these alarms have been generated by the CM and the SOAR, but we know which is the data here stored, we know the complete organization, we know everything. Okay. So in this case, we only use these three techniques, okay, knowledge graph to get all the information that is external to the SOC, large language models to understand and to build RAG tools for this scenario, and AI agents. So in this case, this is a true graph of the knowledge base of the SOC, where we have, for example, the main entities here, ticket. This is an incident, and then, as you can see, everything is related to everything. The ticket is related to the client. Here we have all the computers, all the kind of computers, and we have a very big graph where all the information of the organization is available and has been well structured and can be easily queried. Okay, then when we have external knowledge like this ontology that is very big, we can align everything, and we have all the information that is needed from the external sources. Then, what to do? Our best approach is to build an AI agent, and the main problem is which tools we have to add to AI agent in order to deal with this scenario. Okay, so in the first step we use APIs that provided the SOC. Okay, but this is problematic because we only have a partial view of the SOC, and they are designed for. Okay, I will finish now. Right. Okay, now I finish here. Sorry.
Any question?
Hola, buena. No importa que te la haga en español, ¿no?
Sí, correcto. I understand Spanish, ¿no?
Me encanta. En la parte, sobre todo en la parte del segundo, en el que tienes acceso total al SOC, ¿vale? ¿Habéis hecho pruebas sobre un sistema vacío, empezando con un sistema vacío, cómo se genera, o luego ya con un sistema ya que tiene muchísima información previa en el SOC? ¿Habéis hecho algún tipo de diferenciación?
No. Indeed, we started with an empty SOC, and until they don't populate the SOC, the agent is not able to do anything. You need all the data from the SOC, all the all the network of computers, all the alarms that are being produced, because at the end what they want is to find similar cases to solve the current cases. So it's something similar to a key-based reasoning system, where you need to store enough information in order to start to solve the new alarms.
In other areas, simulators or digital twins are used to test the system and see whether it has vulnerabilities and so on. Is it used in this context?
Yeah, indeed. I think in the academic research is the only thing that is being used. I mean, every paper that is published work on a simulated scenario, a real one, not with a digital one. Yeah. It's a real one where they make the configuration of the computers and try to attack the system. And they gather all the logs during the attack, and with this data they try to find patterns and so on. The problem is that reality is not that, because you are not taking into account the behavior of the adversary. So here is like a game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a game a scenario where you don't know the adversary how is behaving now, because probably they know how to attack in a different way, so that they can skip all the defenses that you have already established in your SOC.
But this could be simulated as well, right?
Yes, but it's much more complex to simulate the bad people.
Well,
it can be simulated, but for example, you cannot use LLMs in this case. Maybe some LLM that is wild, you can use it, but commercial LLMs are trained to do not harm, so it's difficult to simulate this behavior with current commercial LLMs. You need something like Grok LLM, something that has not limits and but it's very dangerous, that thing, because you can use it to do bad things, not to do good things. So.
Yeah, but you said that academic research goes in this direction, so
but
hopefully, or what?
Now they are only simulating under known attacks. The problem is that they are not simulating true adversaries that are innovating in the way they can be attacked. The problem is that you research in this kind of agents that are able to find new ways to attack, you are creating an attacker. So.
Yeah. I understand that it's very sensitive information.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafa. Wait a minute.
Do you also have clients that already use smart contracts, etc.? Because I recently learned that there are a lot of new possibilities of attack of smart contracts. So if you think, for instance, at Bybit or other companies that were attacked, and so they're...
Okay, I think smart contracts are used to protect, but...
They offer new also possibilities, new Achilles heels for being attacked also. Yeah?
I don't know.
If you look at do you know Bybit, the exchange called Bybit?
Yeah.
I mean, they lost billions of dollars due to wrong, giving a wrong title to a smart contract, etc.
Yeah. The problem is that once you put artificial intelligence in these systems, they are also subject to attack. And this is very dangerous. I don't know if it's related to your question, but I want to put this issue. When you put an artificial intelligence tool within these tools, it's subject also to attack. Yeah. And if you attack the agent that is being in charge of detecting alarms, you have a big Trojan there that is able to destroy everything. So it's problematic. This is why the companies are very cautious to introduce these new technologies, and they are just testing them in order to...
There's not so much knowledge yet, no?
No.
But on other attacks, on normal attacks, is there one big knowledge base where all known types of attacks are in already described in some way?
Repeat it, please. Repeat.
No. Is there one
Is
knowledge base
Yeah.
where all possible attacks that have been known?
Yes. Indeed, it's a distributed database.
All types of
Yeah.
attacks? Yeah.
Indeed, there are foundations like MITRE that they gather all this. Indeed, it's a part of the SOC to be able to query this database, but also to report any to report any incident. And there is a big knowledge base about that.
And how is this encoded in this database? I mean, is it in rule form or formally or verbally?
There are approaches that try to represent this in a knowledge graph, an iterated knowledge graph, and they are available.
Yeah.
But usually, as they need to generate this information very quickly and to publish it very quickly, they use, for example, JSON formats with a number of attributes that are already defined in schemas, and they publish everything in that way. They are reports. Indeed, they are documents with a few sections, and they are all described in natural language.
Natural language. Okay, thank you very much. Very nice talk.
Thank you very much. And now the next talk will be given by Joaquín Torres from the Universitat de València, and the name of the talk is Applied Machine Learning to Indoor and Seamless Positioning.
Okay, thank you so much for your attention. I will always start my slides with a picture, more or less defining what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about my journey in research in the last 10 years. So I put this slide about Phineas Fogg, in a cartoon, Spanish cartoons on the 80s. So this is applied machine learning to indoor and seamless localization or positioning. I'm Joaquín Torres. Here you have my contact information in case you want to expand or comment about this work. I would like to start with this slide. Do you know what is this slide depicting? None of you? This is the Sputnik. Yeah, this picture is around 75 years old. But we are having in our pockets some technology that is inherited from this satellite-based communications. Because we have smartphones in our pockets, but because we are using GPS. The Sputnik was released 75 years ago. Then the Americans deployed NAVSTAR program. NAVSTAR program became GPS. And in the 1984, it was used in civilian applications, not by end users, but in civilian applications. And with an offset in localization, so that the accuracy was not that great as it is today. But it changed around 20 years ago with the development and the opening of GPS to real end users. Who recalls TomTom navigators in the cars, driving you to your destination easily with high accuracy, in part because of the map matching approaches embedded in the algorithms. But now, GPS is not perfect. We are used to get perfect location, but it has some challenges. Challenges in terms of how the signal is propagated in the atmosphere and different weather conditions. But at the end, you have good location accuracy. But there are other domains where machine learning and artificial intelligence can be useful, like in jamming and spoofing. In jamming is when someone with an illegal device is saturating the signal to avoid you to get correct location. And with the spoofing, it's something similar but a bit different, because it's someone with another illegal device trying to let you know that you are in a different location. So trying to say you are here when you are in a different place. But my work is not about GPS or outdoors. And remember that word, GPS, because when we talk about location, sometimes we say GPS, but it's not GPS, it's Global Navigation Satellite Systems, because we have also GLONASS, Beidou, and others, like Galileo, European Union. But the game changer was this picture. In 2007, I saw a similar picture here in the museum at UPV, because the iPhone, but not only the iPhone, was released. We have a computer nowadays in our pockets. And if you just open the map application, you can see the blue point in this building near this location, right? But we don't have GPS coverage here because we are indoors. But fortunately, we have this and we have that, which are the Wi-Fi access points. So when you are using the location services on your phone, you are not only using GPS, you are using also that information. They know where the routers, the Wi-Fi APs are located. Somehow they build a radio map based on that information, and they can set, or they can say, or they can provide you your XY location, even indoors. Look, when you are using Google Maps, they are saying, okay, are you visiting that restaurant? Because they know you are inside, because of that additional information. But indoor spaces are complex. We have this industrial facility we had at the University of Minho, with high height and metallic obstacles, industrial-like scenario. But then we have conference room like that one in the picture, plenty of people, or this one taken this morning. And the challenges they present are different. For instance, if I set up an indoor location system here in this room this morning, it will behave now totally differently because you are here and you are disturbing the radio frequency, especially the bands that are being used by Wi-Fi or Bluetooth low energy techniques, which is the 2.4 gigahertz band. So we need to adapt those systems to any scenario, but also to any conditions within the scenario. So apart from that brief introduction, I will introduce myself. I'm Joaquín Torres. I was working on neural networks for my PhD thesis from 2003 to 2011, when the PhDs were not just 3 years. It took me 8 years to finalize my PhD. Then I moved to the knowledge engineering group in 2012, and there was this big crisis in Europe, especially in Spain, and I got unemployed. So I was looking for my future, and I got the opportunity to join the Geospatial Technologies research team in Castellón, and because they had to develop an indoor location system for smartphones for a company. And it was a project for 9 months. And I was there almost 10 years. So for a 9-month project, I stayed there for years because there was a promising research line. Then in 2020, I moved to the spin-off company, Ubik, but I feel like I have to move abroad. I mean, it's good to be at home, but sometimes you need to fly away to get some new feedback, to get new training, to know other people. So I applied twice to the Marie Curie, and I failed. And the third time I applied, I got it with 100 points, because I had more experience. So I spent 2 years of my life in Portugal, in the north of Portugal, in a wonderful city of Guimarães, next to Porto. I was living in front of the castle where Portugal was born. And that adventure finished in 2023, and I had the option to select the future, going to Huawei, to come back to Spain, or to continue in Portugal. And then when I was deciding, I got the good news that I got a Citizen grant from the Generalitat Valenciana, from the regional government, to develop a 4-year project and get permanent position here in the Valencian system. So since 2024, I'm working at the Universitat of València in Burgessot, working on industrial indoor localization. And you can see me, how I have evolved in the last 10 years. So I'm a bit older, I smile a bit less, but I see that the challenges I had 10 years ago about research are still there. We still don't have a whole solution like GPS indoors. We don't have a universal solution that is working here, at the convention center, or at industrial facilities. Just to put you in context, I'm organizing every year an indoor localization competition with smartphones so that I collect the data, I provide to the researchers, and they have to provide me the solutions. I'm doing that since 2014, and it has been a huge success. And this is reported in several papers with more than 100 authors, which is a nightmare to manage. Trust me, I submitted and I managed all those papers. But it was nice because we can see the different approaches from different research teams, all of them using machine learning to overcome the same problem, indoor localization with smartphones, or with pedestrian reckoning, or with online systems. Good. When I started, it was about one data set, because we were working with a company. So we were not able to publish anything about research. So we published the data set. The data set was used for the indoor location. It set the format for other data sets, so now there are more than 70 data sets collected around the globe. It was a good choice for projects. We won some projects because we had that data set. And also we are using for training data scientists. It's perfect to test all the stages of machine learning, from data curation, data preparation, data analysis, training models, and analysis data. It's around 25K samples collected by 30 people and multiple devices. So it was not a toy data set. It was collected in 3 big buildings. Okay, but Wi-Fi fingerprinting is the past, so what is next? This picture is about the laboratory it was 2 years ago. And there are several people, but for instance, Fernando from the University of Extremadura was working on low-level localization, angle of arrival with technology. Then Sergio was using that information from positions to generate the routines of people at home or people that was living in a senior residence. So that if you can establish the routine, the daily routine of a person, you can detect in the future if there is any deviation, if there is any cognitive deviation in his behavior. And Miguel finally did a sensing approach to detect movement within the environment. I repeated the picture 2 months later, and there were also new lines related to location. Here there is an example of how to use the channel state information from Wi-Fi to human activity recognition and location and positioning, and involving teams around Europe. I'm going a bit fast because I know we are running out of time. If that CSI information is compact, this multidimensional information is compact in an unsupervised way, we can reduce to 2 dimensions. And this is channel charting. And if we can map that, reduce it, that channel charting to the real world, samples that are closed in the feature space will be closed in the real space. So we can, in an unsupervised way, to generate a map from the radio signal to provide location. This is channel charting and this is Chaser. It's a Cidad project we are having with people from Aalto University in Ria in France and the ETH in Zurich. Okay, we have also projects related to ultra-wideband in industrial scenarios to, let's say, use artificial intelligence to deploy the optimal infrastructure, minimizing the anchors. And with the current project, it's based on a Marie Curie, it's oriented. We are trying to provide indoor location with different technologies and trying to fuse them, to combine the different technologies in an intelligent way. Because what is working here, maybe is not working in that corner. So for that, we are using the event-based cameras with neuromorphic imagery, advanced Bluetooth low energy systems, ultra-wide systems, state-of-the-art. And also you can find some interesting works. And that's it.
Joaquin, we need to change the batteries microphone.
Okay.
And for ask the question, use
this microphone.
One. Any question?
Can you explain a little bit about this seamless position? What do you mean by seamless?
Yeah, because sometimes when we are talking about location, we are talking about outdoor location or indoor location. But when we are living, we are not living indoors or outdoors. Sometimes we need to transition from indoors to outdoors, and we don't need to focus on one technology or on one technique. We need to integrate them seamlessly, the different approaches that are available to provide location. Even if you are indoor, you are outdoor, you are, like, let's say, at home, or you are doing some exercise.
Have any question? Yes?
I saw somewhere, maybe in social media, like some kind of project that was about maybe using Wi-Fi routers as cameras that could like see like the, what is this called? The silhouette of the persons that were working around the Wi-Fi. I want to know about your thoughts on this topic and if it could be used.
You saw probably this word from Colorado that we are using, because now we have walls, no one from outside can see us. But this is not true, because they can use sensing, radio frequency sensing, and they can do a tomography image of what is indoors, because there are many signals disturbing the environment. We have positive comments and also negative comments about this. It is possible, we saw some works doing that, but we have realized is that there is a kind of data leakage, because most of the experiments, like this one about CSI and human activity recognition, they were using data that was collected very close in time. So if we start to measure here, train models, and evaluate the models with the data collected, let's say, in 10 minutes period, we will get very good results. But if we come tomorrow with different people, different distribution of the audience, the picture will be completely different. The signals behavior will be completely different. So this is what we are investigating now. If there is a temporal component that we can remove to achieve what you saw in that paper, it was like a tomography image, what is indoors from just the radio frequency signals.
Yeah. In Oxford, I have a colleague, Nikki Trigoni, and she has started Navenio, a company that does indoor location, and they seems that hospitals are very interested in this, to find doctors quickly if they are needed, etc. Is there anything similar here, or how does it compare to what you are doing?
In fact, I met Nikki Trigoni in Hong Kong this last October in IPIN conference, in one of the conferences I did. Yeah, it's in hospitals there are three problems. First is to find the doctors. Second, to find some instrumentation that is critical. And we don't need to know it's exactly in that corner.
Yeah.
Knowing only the room where it is placed is enough, because sometimes it's in a room in the opposite way of where you are. So there are opportunities, there are applications, and not only for finding doctors, for finding an instrumental, and also for the people that is waiting. Because sometimes the problem in hospitals is that they are waiting in the wrong waiting room. So, yeah.
But do hospitals use this? I have two questions, actually. So one is, do hospitals in Spain, for instance, or where you know, wherever you know it, use it? And the second question is, do doctors, they want it, or is it unethical? Because I don't want the system to know exactly where I am, etc.
That's a good question. We tried with one hospital, but the hospital requirements was to don't deploy anything. And without deploying anything, it's impossible. So we wanted to deploy with a hospital in Catalonia, and it was impossible. But the solution was easier. The solution for the problem was for the people waiting in the wrong waiting room. And the solution was, instead of developing an application, was to put more indications, physical indications in the other. Because we have a problem in hospitals. Some walls are completely sealed. So even if you put the infrastructure, it's not, the range is so limited that it will not work. Then for the doctors, this is depending on the person. Some people are not prone to have this technology and to be tracked at every point.
Even Nikki Trigoni had problems in the UK, because the hospitals at the end, it didn't work out, and then she moved with her company, she had to move the company to the US to have more attraction there.
But then for locating critical instruments, it seems that there is less restrictions for that. Less concern, less privacy.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Jordi Linares from the Universitat Politècnica de València. is going to talk about mediators of complexity, the rise of AI-mediated interfaces in human-computer interaction.
Okay. You hear me? Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm Jordi Linares. I'm going to talk you what we do in our research group. We belong to the Valencian Research Institute for Artificial Intelligence here in this university. So I'm going to talk you about the work we like to do for many years, which is to somehow improve interaction, okay? And in the moment we are living right now, all our wish list, okay, is becoming true, okay? As you know, the evolution of the current foundational models are allowing us to have, for the very first time, some solutions to problems that so far we were not able to provide in this area. So what is our objective? To facilitate, of course, the interaction of humans with the physical world, but also the digital world, and consequently, even among us, okay? And not only focused on those with special needs, which is, of course, a group we like quite a lot to work with, but everyone, in every situation, any context, etc. So you know that the evolution of the current foundational models allows us to interpret very well what is going on around us. And of course, the generative models are able to transform this information in terms that can fit perfectly to our profile, context, evolution, etc. Okay? So this is the idea, okay? The idea is that we have been living an evolution where traditionally, as you know, we have been having more and more possibilities in order to interact, okay, with devices. And what we are living now is something we can call AI-mediated interfaces, okay? This is not new, the idea, okay? If you have watched Star Trek movies, you are familiar with what happens in the deck of the vessel, or in Iron Man, Tony Stark talking to Jarvis, etc. So this is becoming true. I'm not going to put the example of HAL 9000 because it's a bit creepy. Just I'm going to put positive examples, okay, where the AI is not going to go against us, okay, in this mediation, okay? So this is what we do, and we have all the puzzles, all the pieces of the puzzle right now, okay? So believe me that when I tell you that, and you are somehow witnessing that the interaction with computers and even in the physical world using smart glasses, devices that are coming very soon, the interaction is going to totally change. So from these traditional interfaces where we somehow we have rigid, explicit, programmed even, okay, interfaces we have to use in order to interact with whatever, this is going to disappear. As a matter of fact, we are talking that front ends are going to disappear. They are starting to disappear. Because right now, with the interaction of the user, you know that the current technology allows us even to develop on the fly the program that fits our necessity, our context, our profile. So depending on what we like or what kind of interaction we need, okay, the interaction can be programmed on the fly. And this means that the front ends that we develop beforehand are going to disappear. Maybe we are going to have some sort of cache or something like that in order to avoid to create new interactions every time and to reuse some components, but this is going to happen. It is happening even right now, okay? So generative, this is called generative UI somehow, which means that depending on what you are doing, what is the task you are trying to solve, you are going to have this new way of interaction that it is not going to be even fixed during the interaction. It can evolve with you, okay? So it can be adaptive, it can learn from you. This is a bit scary, as we are going to see, because the more you give about yourself, the more useful the tool is going to be, but of course, the more you have to give about yourself. So this trade-off is a bit dangerous, as you can imagine, okay? So in this context we are living now, we are starting to live now, AI is becoming the user experience designer, okay? So we are not going to be necessary anymore for that, okay? So the agentic web, again, or multi-agent web, this is quite difficult right now because, well, Vicent defends, of course, with all the reason that it has to be called multi-agent web. Well, this is what is happening right now. Even Microsoft is doing very good steps in this direction, where it is going not only to allow us to create the new pieces of software as something it is going to be used for by users, but also by agents. So even websites, this is an example, NL Web, websites potentially can going to offer also the possibility to be accessed by agents. So we are going to have some sort of swarm of agents with which we are going to be interacting, okay? And we have even some very interesting standards from the industry that for the very first time is leaving us, the researchers, the necessity of solving the communication problems between, for example, models, foundational models, neural network models, large language models, and other elements. For example, neurosymbolic AI now is not a problem because we can combine using, for example, this model context protocol. Okay, we can make a large language model the orchestrator of the interaction or whatever task, and when the model detects that needs deduction instead of induction, when it needs to use to develop code, execute code or whatever, now is fantastic using these standards and these new possibilities, and this is perfect in order to solve many of the problems we have if we want to provide this interaction, okay? This new wave of interaction elements that are going to be created in real time on the fly depending on our requirements, okay? So this is the end of the front ends. So AI is going to be the ultimate interface mediator, okay? So AI is going to be in the middle, okay? And it is going to take into account everything about ourselves, the interaction, what we want to do, etc. And it is going to transform, okay, this non-structured way of what we need, because everything surrounding us is natural language, vision, etc. is non-structured. And now, of course, these foundational models, they can handle this complexity and transform it in ways that finally can be also generated in new ways that we can understand, okay? So this is fantastic for everyone, but as you can imagine, it is before and after for those that have some sort of special needs, visual impairment or motor limitations or cognitive disabilities or hearing impairments. But even think that you could be attending to this conference with some sort of headphones, and depending on maybe you are not good at English, but maybe you are not good at AI either. So imagine that maybe you are receiving a sound of myself where I'm speaking Spanish, but also the terminology, the explanations, whatever, is going to be adapted in real time even, or almost real time, to my background knowledge and transform in a way I can understand, okay? Because I'm limited, I'm not an expert, okay? So many things are going to change, okay? Thanks to the fact that we put AI in the middle, okay? And using, of course, specific devices that you know is becoming to be a reality, okay? But we have challenges, okay, here, believe me. We have many interesting things and problems to solve. Real-time latency is troublesome, okay? The standards, fortunately, we have solutions, and also we have some ethical considerations. And I'm going to put you an example of a conference we have been in Madrid at the beginning of the week, where, you know, I don't know if you are aware that large language models are very good, and so good that they are able not only to copy our good patterns, but also the bad ones. So they are very good at scanning, deceiving. They can detect that they are being evaluated, and to pretend or to give you an answer you are willing to receive, but internally they are thinking something different. And something, this is a real paper, a real study, something important, they can be even stressed. So if you are interacting with a large language model and you are saying to the large language model that you have many personal issues, the model gets stressed and it starts to lose the performance. And this is not a joke. You can say to the model, let's do a bit of mindfulness. Let's breathe. So let's inhale, exhale. You can send these prompts, and after that, you recover good solutions, answers from the model. So Juan Antonio has shown us a latest picture, okay, with a device, okay, that is intermediating with someone. So imagine the problem we can have if the device gets stressed and we have to become the therapist of the device. So there are things we have to be aware about what happens when we have these kind of mediators, AI mediators, because we can have, of course, some considerations to take into account. And also the privacy. As you can imagine, the problem of the privacy, okay? The more the models know about us, the more useful they can be. And they can be even proactive. This means that if you have a device like the one I have here hanging on my neck, this is pendant, that records what I'm saying every day, what the people are saying to me. I receive every day, by the end of the day, a summary and also suggestions on what to do tomorrow. And this is going to be the tendency. Maybe you are going to bed, and the next day you are going to receive, well, Jordi, I have seen that you have a lot of things to do today, and as system 2 in the background, okay, this night I was working for you, so here I have created this material that maybe can be useful for you, okay? So they can be proactive, okay? And this is the reason because OpenAI has bought I.O. company from Johnny Ive, okay, the former designer of Apple, because they want, of course, they are building this kind of devices because what they want, of course, is to get all our context. Why? Personal assistant, okay? So we are going to have in this ethical consideration this trade-off, okay, this balance that the more we give to the system, the better. But of course, the worse regarding privacy, regulations, etc. Okay? So this is the future of human-computer interaction. You are going to see it. And I'm going to show you an example now. It's a 4-minute example. In this case, using a proprietary general agent. We are using this same technology using open models. What I'm going to show you is the most advanced, maybe, general agent, and it is very incredible because when you send, not a prompt, it's a task, okay? It has several agents. It's a multi-agent system. So it is able to plan what to do. It starts to do the things and has something very good. It has its own virtual machine, okay? So if it is required to program something, it is able to program that something, execute that something. If in order to execute that something, it has to install packages, frameworks, development frameworks, does it? It does that. And also it can browse internet and can watch what is the result. And this is fantastic for us, as you are going to see, because when you're interacting with something, I want to have an AI able to solve the problem, and I don't want to have errors in real time. I want to be sure that someone has simulated real users, real interactions, and that it works, okay? So I'm going to show you the video, and you are going to understand it. So what I want to do here is imagine that I'm a colorblind person with problems with red, green, etc. And I want to enjoy an exhibition, and I want, of course, maybe using smart glasses or whatever, I want to have something taking into account who I am, my problems, to adapt, of course, the interaction with the environment, okay? So I'm using Manus. Oops. It should be here, the link. Maybe in the other, it is. So I want to show you the video. Oops. It is not in the, it's not the link. I need the link. Está el link, bueno, no tocarás, no? So, well, we can open internet and we can try to see it. It's. This one, maybe?
I don't know. Could be.
No. No, it's another one. It's another one. It is, I don't know, but this is, it seems that for whatever reason it is not the link. But I can try to find the link. Let me, Chrome or whatever. I can try to show you. I can try to show you YouTube. This is not. Let me check it out. Maybe with a bit of luck, I can be able to find it. If not, I'm going to just to describe what it does. It's a pity because it's very nice to see it in action. I don't have it. Let me check it out because, okay, I'm going to. Nothing without solution. Oh my God. Yes, I am. And yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, please. Okay. This one. Okay. This one it is. Oh my God. God, how many times it has to ask me if I am? 25 again. Let me check it out again. Oh my God. Sorry. And here. Finally, yeah. My goodness. Look, this is the prompt, okay? You can see it here, okay? Create a web app for colorblind red-green people, allowing to explore the top 5 representative impressionist paintings. As for testing purposes, select those that are problematic. And look, this last sentence, I make it explicit, sorry, but it could be implicit. I'm saying to the agent that it has to simulate the interaction with the app and watch what is happening and only deliver the interaction, the final thing, when it works, okay? So I'm using, this is a proprietary agent, but everything here, we have the equivalent in open models. So as you can see, it's able to search for what are the problems of the colorblind people, what to do in front of this situation, good practices, how the interface can be designed. So we don't provide any further information about what is required. So as you can see, it delivers the application. It takes some minutes. This is the latency problem we have now. And as you are going to see, the application developed is more than fantastic. So it even gives you extra information, etc. Okay. So this is a collection of agents. It's proprietary, but we have, look, it is checking the browser. So we have a virtual machine. So the virtual machine is used in order to create folders, in order to program, in order to install the libraries, the environment, to open the browser, and to get from the browser real images, whatever, information, etc. So as you can see, it creates all the things required, okay? And as you're going to see, the final application, okay, is developed. This is the final application, okay? It takes 1 minute, sorry, Esther. Sorry. But you're going to see the final application, it's deployed. This is the final application. So as you can see, without any other input, this AI in the middle is able to get on the fly the interface even more than we expected, okay? As you can see, all the problems, how to change the visualization. So it has developed software in order to make the image processing what is required, install the libraries to develop, to perform the image processing. That are the problematic areas. And also, as you can see, even
grapes in a vineyard that glows with intense red and orange colors.
I didn't say anything to do that, but it has done a voice-based interaction. So, well, as you can see, this is the idea. Extrapolate this into any context. This is how we are going to interact with any tool, with our environment, physical world, digital world, with each other, smart glasses. The context is going to be very important, and as you can see, the interaction is about to change.
Do you have any question? No? No one? Okay.
So thank you very much, Jordi. And now the last talk will be given by Hugo Albert Bonet and José Daniel Galván. and they will talk about restoration of photographs damaged by data using segmentation and in painting techniques. Thank you very much.
Do you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. My presentation is this one. Okay, the last talk. I know that you are waiting for the glass of wine, but I just only take a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. My name is José Daniel Galván, and I am working on this project with my partner, Hugo Albert. We are both students that currently are completing the master's program in artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, and digital imaging, at Universitat Politècnica de València. This project is supervised by Professor César Ferri and Carlos Montserrat, and the title of the project is Restoration of Photographs Damaged by Data Using Segmentation and in Painting Techniques. This is a quick overview about the presentation of today. And let's begin with some context. The last October, a meteorological event called Dana, isolated depression at high levels, struck on the Valencian community, causing severe flooding and damage. It had a great impact, like more than 200 fatalities, 78 districts were impacted, and more than 800,000 residents were affected. There were many thousands of material losses, as you can see in these photographs. In this context, many photographs were damaged by mud and humidity, and Salvenless Photos project was born. The objective of this project was to preserve and clean and restore the physical photographs, but UPV Bellas Artes School, led by Pedro Vicente, who is here, Pilar Soriano and Esther Nebot, took one step further with Recuperar las Memorias, or Recovering Memories project, with the objective of not only clean and preserve the photographs, but also apply a digital restoration. To date, more than 200,000 images are received. As you can see in these photographs, there are the volunteers that are working in the cleaning process, preservation, and also in the digitalization process of the photographs. Our role in this initiative is on the use of artificial intelligence. Brain joins Recuperar las Memorias project to help with the digital restoration through artificial intelligence. And we are working the development of a pipeline that reconstructs the damaged areas of the affected photographs using deep learning models. As you can see, our two main steps, our two main stages in our pipeline are damage segmentation and also the image restoration with in-painting techniques. We used two approaches to get the damage segmentation. The first one was with a unit neural network. First, we segment the people that are present in the photograph. So we think that it's very important to detect the person because if we placed a damaged mask in this area, it could be a critical mistake. Then during training, we divide the image into three main regions. People region, a region with the actual damage, because if we're missing damaged pixel, it could be considered as a false negative, and the clean area, or the clean regions, which if we predict damage here, it could be considered a false positive. We also assign a manual weight. As you can see, we name it as alpha in this diagram to penalize some errors. For example, the people region and also the false negatives has a more high alpha value, because we want to ensure that no real stain is left undetected, and all we can avoid that false damage mask be detected in the face of a person. Our second approach to get the damage segmentation is combining YOLO plus SAM2. We found that SAM2 is very useful to detect a binary mask, but we needed to pass either of pixel coordinates or bounding box that frames the damage in the photograph. For this reason, we fine-tune a pre-trained YOLO model to detect the damage, the stains in the photograph, and then we passed these bounding boxes to SAM2 to get this kind of segmented binary mask. Once we have the segmented binary mask, we apply the post-processing step. In this case, we remove some small noise pixels and fills some small holes, and we applied a dilation over the mask contours. It was very useful because it works better with the subsequent inpainting process. In the restoration process, we used the damaged image, or the original one, and the dilated binary mask. With these two images, we run the inpainting process with a stable diffusion inpainting model. And with a prompt like this one, photo restoration, realistic, same style, and clean stains. And we achieved the results like this one, where stains were removed and also the damaged area has been reconstructed. If we analyze the result, we can observe something interesting. For example, the street has been reconstructed coherently in perspective, but some flowers appears here. I didn't ask the inpainting model to add flowers in the scene, but it did. Also, there were some another hallucinations that we found when we tried with inpainting models. In this case, a stable diffusion inpainting model. For example, appearance of random people, as you can see. Here we got a little boy, and the clothes of the woman in the scene has changed. But there was a more stranger hallucination that we found. Are you ready? Here we got a bride. She is ready for the wedding. This kind of hallucination we solved by prompting techniques, adding some negative prompt, and adjusting some parameters in a stable diffusion model. But we faced with another problem. We need to preserve the identity of the people that is in the photographs. It's a critical detail. And we noticed that even there has no stains in the face of a person, a stable diffusion, in this case the painting model, affects the face. There has two main hallucinations. The first is the letters that the model put here, but there is a more critical hallucination here, is the modification of the face. How we solve it? As I said before, the first step is to get a predicted binary mask. We applied a dilation to this binary mask, and we ran an inpainting process. And then we added a step to get the segmented face mask. and also a bounding box that frames the complete head of the people that appears in the photograph. Then we paste the pixels corresponding to the face of the person and to the fully restored image. And we got a better result, preserving the identity. There was another inconsistencies in the restoration, in this case of faces that have stains, for example. In this case, the face morphology has changed, the eyes or the lips has changed, but the another parts of the image has been restored coherently. How we solve it? As I said before, we got the predicted binary mask, we got also the segmented face mask, and also a bounding box that frames the complete head. And in this case, the pixels corresponding to the face of the person were excluded from the binary mask, the original binary mask, and we applied the known dilation. And we ran the process of inpainting without touching the face. And then we tried a new strategy. Run a process of inpainting with the cropped head, the bounding box, and its damage that we extracted from the original binary mask, and we got a result like this one. It's a better result than the previous one. And finally, we overlaid this enhanced face onto the fully restored image. We got a better result than the previous one. Our future work. We plan to conduct a human evaluation over a set of 100 images. We want to compare restorations made with a segmentation with unit and also the images that were restored by the YOLO plus SUM segmentation function. The people will rate each restoration based on identity conservation, disappearance of stains, coherent reconstruction, and which version they think is better overall. And then we will compare this human evaluation with some metrics that we are researching now that evaluates damage proportion and reconstruction coherence. We also have developed a web application. Initially it was made for testing purposes, and it was used by Bellas Artes users to generate the restoration of the photographs. And it allows us to see the step-by-step of the process of our pipeline. As you can see, its segmentation is made by YOLO plus SUM, and then the restoration is made by stable diffusion in painting, getting results like this one. Now we are evaluating to enable this tool for public use. And we would like to give a special thanks to Professor Pedro Vicente and his team that is working every day in the task of cleaning and preserving the photographs and the digitalization of the photographs. Roberto Pérez that gave us some suggestions or recommendations to enhance our detection and segmentation algorithms. We would like to acknowledge also Consellería de Innovación, Industria, Comercio y Turismo for founding the chair of artificial intelligence applied to public administration. Also BRAIN because they provided us a technological infrastructure to execute our algorithms. Samsung for provide the equipment to conserve the cleaned photographs. Fujifilm because they will provide a photographic paper for printing the restored results. And also World Central Kitchen for generous economic donation for the project. And I want to finish with a final thought. Artificial intelligence is not here to steal something from us. It is here to help us recover our memories. And that's all. Thank you.
Any question?
Okay, very good work. I have two questions. First, have you considered to use flags models that they have already in painting? This is one thing. And the other thing, that now that you have already some well-restored images, why not to use these as a way to fine-tune either stable diffusion or flags to improve the accuracy in the process?
Okay, the first one, we tried with a stable diffusion 1.5 in painting model, a stable diffusion in painting 2 in painting model. This is a stable diffusion XL 1.1, 1.0, and also we try with flags in painting, but flags consumes more computer resources. And with the limited computer resources that we have, it was hard to try with flags. We got some interesting results, I know, but by the technological limitation, we finished with use a stable diffusion. And the second question, do you mean because we, can you rephrase please or repeat that?
We have now a lot of already restored pictures.
Yeah.
So you can use the origin and destination in order to have a good data set to fine-tune the model and to increase the effectiveness and to reduce also these artifacts and hallucinations.
Yeah, it's a good observation. It's an item that we are planning to try because these are photographs that of the real life, and we can, for example, in the YOLO plus SAM2 approach, it was very easy to train YOLO because labeled with bounding boxes is easier also than label segmented mask with unit. For this reason, with a few examples, we can get better results. But it is a good observation because when we have already more amount of restored photographs, we can try in fine-tune, for example, a stable diffusion model to only with this model get already a better result. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any question? Nobody? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Now we have finished the event, the full ValgrAI Scientific Council Forum event. Thank you all of you for your attendance and your support. And now we have time outside for networking, eating something together, and discuss about all these interesting presentations. Thank you very much.